expect a bigger round of applause when this fucking thing is over.
Okay, people. I apologise from the bottom of my heart for the anarchy that has broken out. I'll be asked, it's free in, so I will be asking the questions. Pat will be
Any of the answers?
Yeah.
It's all about you, Pat.
Always is, Michelle, always is. Sorry. All right, sorry, kick on, sorry. Seriously.
No, if you want the show, it can be yours.
Where's Billy? Where's Billy?
Yeah, so here we go. Couple of things. One is, Colm earlier today sent me the t-shirt, the image of the t-shirt that he printed for the people who work from the volunteers, the student volunteers. And it's an entire t-shirt filled with band names that played in that single week. Now, he didn't even mention Spiritualize. Spiritualize on its own, that's my favourite gig of any given year. So, it's remarkable how, loads of these people, with the exception of Bear Angley, who has just handed me a list of every single gig that he worked at, and what he didn't write down, but he has in his head, is the exact ticket count. That's why Niall and myself and Miriam are doing this. And Danielle is documenting it. These stories are really important, and when you put them all together, they make sense. So, one thing, like before we do Pat's chat, is that the answer is no to anyone who thinks that anyone in this room can get you tickets for the Trinity Ball. You're 40 years late, so that's not going to happen. So, Pat, you're in NIHE, and the
NIHE Dublin, because there was NIHE Limerick, it was Bear.
Yeah. So you're in the lesser known, less successful NIHE regional branch.
The Dublin cousin.
Yeah, the Dublin cousin. And where did you get the impulse that music was something that you'd love to be involved in? Were you buying records as a young
I was
person?
doing all that. I mean, I remember RTE Radio in the background. Do you remember the sponsored programs? And before we had 2FM, we just had RTE Radio. There was no Radio 1 or 2 or 3 or 18 or anything. And then Mum and Dad bought a stereo, and the Bing Crosby and Larry Cunningham and Glenn Miller and all that kind of. And then my brother brought home Black Sabbath's Volume 4.
Yes.
Horselips, Happy to Meet, Sorry to Part. Rory Gallagher's Live in Europe. Bit of prog, Yes, Close to the Edge. Mott the Hooples, Mott. And then my other brother Neil Young, Van Morrison, whatever. And so I was buying records, bargain bins, were the foundation of my record collection. I remember with Paddy at Poland, we shared an apartment a couple of times, and we would be. And I remember he spotted Scritti Politi's songs to remember. There was only one fucking copy. I didn't speak to him for months afterwards because he got it first. But getting involved in the business was a complete accident. I was just sitting in the library in Nihi one evening, and this guy sauntered over that I knew was running for president, and he said, he sat down, he says, "Come here, I'm thinking of you should join the, we'd run as a team, a whole load of us." And I went, "Fuck off, I have no interest in student union politics, get out of here." I said, "The one position I might consider, Ents Officer," and he said, "That's the position I was thinking of." So I kind of looked at him and went, "Actually, I suppose that's not the worst idea ever." Who won by 1 vote earlier? Marcus, you won by 1. I thought winning by 27, because there was at least 100 went, Mark Walsh, Padman, eeny, miny, mo, because they wouldn't have known either of us. But 1 that's an achievement.
Mark Walsh is my good friend.
Yes, yes.
And Dave Campbell forgot to vote for himself.
So Mark and I ran, and I won by 27 votes, which was nothing. And the guy who'd done the year before had made a loss, so I figured I'd at least try and break even. And I think I made them some money, and with agreement, paid myself occasionally, just a few bob, expenses. And then that was but we'd no facilities, we'd nothing. We had a small little lecture theatre, CG 86, that held about 180 people. And we had the restaurant, which they wouldn't give us permission to run gigs in, but eventually they did. I still have a memory of being on tables crammed together, and I was gaffer taping the legs of the tables together for stability, like. And Fiona Goff did it the year after me. She put on the flowers, so she was the first one to get the restaurant, as far as I remember. We used off-site places. I remember using the National Ballroom. I used the SFX. First gig I put on was the first paid gig. The first gig I put on was a free lunchtime gig, outdoors, the Monday of Freshers Week. And it was a band called Above the Thunderclouds. And Above the Thunderclouds had Joey Barry, who went on to sing The Amazing Colossal Men and Compulsion. But there was a certain Jerry Leonard on guitar. And Jerry has gone on and done some things with himself in New York City. Yeah. And literally it was a gig that someone pulled the plug on, because we had a small little PA, and it was plugged into one socket in the science lab, and someone in the science lab went for a laugh and then ran out. So literally pulled the fucking plug on us. But also the Fae played our freshers ball, and I remember the lesson was, be careful of the band you book, because they weren't very freshers ball-esque. They didn't have people dancing and whatever. They were good, but they were wrong for a freshers ball. And then I don't know how I got offered, but MCD offered me Moving Hearts on their first of many farewell tours. That was a late 84. So the first time I did it was 84, 85 as a student, when I won by 27 votes. And I had nowhere to put them on, and I thought, I know, we could do a co-production with St. Pat's down in Drumcondra, which now is part of DCU. And so we put the gig on in their hall, and we split everything and whatever. And I remember someone mentioned Barry Moore earlier. Barry Moore's band Red Square supported, and got the princely sum of, I think I gave them a tenner or something. And I remember for all those early gigs, I would dream about, when you start something new, you dream about them. And I think Moving Hearts, by the time I got to the Moving Hearts gig, I didn't dream about everything that could go wrong the night before. And I went, okay, I'm getting the hang of this. So, and then I put on various. I remember you asked me recently for a list. Christy Moore came to us. I can't remember. So I did it a second year when I graduated. So I was Ents Officer first time, but like Bear's second time round, it was a full-time job. I sat an interview for the student union. The college was too big for a student, but not big enough for a full-time entertainment manager. So I was entertainment and publications manager. And Christy, Matty Fox knew someone in the college, and he contacted me and said, Christy wants to do a few gigs. I thought, Christy wants to do fucking, what, where? In the lecture theatre with 180 people. The fuck? And he said, well, he's written a whole load of new songs. He's been in the States, bought a load of new gear. He wants a testament from a friendly audience. So we put Christy on for 3 nights in CG 86. And he didn't do it for the money. He did it to practice and get the feel of it and whatever, and try out new things. And I remember the tour manager afterwards, we went into one of the side rooms and I had bulging pockets of cash. And I said, right, here you go, count that out. And we were short about, I can't remember, it was maybe 100 quid. And I went, how the fuck could we be short 100 quid? I said, and I sat there and I was dumbfounded, and I kind of went, that's mad. I said, I've no idea. And the guy was, tour manager, very unhappy. I said, I will sort it out. And the next morning I came in, and as I walked in, I went, of course, the student union shop, they were selling tickets. for the gig, and I never went down and took the money. I went down, and exactly what was missing was there. I took it to the student union shop office. I rang Matty. Matty, I said, I found the money. My apologies, mea culpa. It was in the student union shop, and I'll write you a check, stick in the post. He said, nah, keep it. So your man who put me in touch with him split 50-50. Oh, we were so corrupt.
Fantastic. And so, I love that idea that for a small college, that a great tactic is to find another partner college. And,
yeah, we only did it once, strangely. Yeah, but we used venues in town.
Yeah.
So, as I said, we put the Partisans on in the National Ballroom, which had the bounciest floor ever. It was a real ballroom dancing thing. We put Aula de Fé on in the SFX. I can't remember where else we used, but we know. And then I also remember putting on. Do I even remember the hypnotist Barry something?
Sinclair.
Barry Sinclair. Put him on in the canteen a couple of times. They loved that. I love that shit. But yeah, I did a year after as entertainment and publication manager, and McPoland took over for me. And I happened to be sharing a house with him at the time. And so he did it for a year, and he was about to do the second year when Pat Egan offered him the gig, and he fucked off and left him high and dry. And so the admin officer from the student union rang me and said, can I meet you for lunch? I said, I know what the fuck you want. I'm not going back. He said, just meet me for lunch. I said, oh right, I'll meet you for lunch, but I'm not doing the gig. It's the only time in my life anyone waved a blank check in front of me, and all they wanted me to do was Freshers Week. They'd have sorted someone after that, so I didn't rip them off too much.
And do you remember who played Freshers Week that time?
No.
No.
Who are you again?
Out of the fame were beaten.
Not a clue. I can't remember. Yeah, here's the thing that I'm not. It's not that I'm proud or unproud of it, but I do remember on more than one occasion for one of those big balls, just putting on a disco. Paul Webb was my right-hand man, and he'd often open, but people said, oh no, we prefer a disco, and they did. I did put those Nervous Animals on once. Do you remember those Nervous Animals? I remember putting them on in the restaurant, so must have gaffer taped the tables together again for that. And then of course they all ended up back at someone's house, and we stayed drinking and chatting and I'm still in touch with Pádraig Gallagher. Ronan Gallagher was their manager, I think. He's now a singer-songwriter himself, and his brother Pádraig of course owns Boxty House. It's a small world.
Yeah, and when you went out off campus, were those gigs just for your students, or were they
like the Christy Moore one? They were, but
Yeah.
if they were someone that others wanted to see, they found ways of buying tickets. I mean, we'd always give students first dibs, and I think the tickets we printed up, and how now you could run off copies, forgeries. We used to stamp them when you bought them with the student union stamp, and I had one gang who would. They'd say to me, is our time up? Dan, you can ask Billy a question now.
Yeah.
I'll answer for him. But I had these guys who would say to me, we're not paying in. And I would meet them inside in the gig. And I don't know, to this day I don't know how they got in half the time. I'd catch them occasionally trying to get in toilet windows and stuff. But they just had a thing about not paying in. And, it was a game. So, yeah.
Well, that's why the admission was free tonight.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see all those people.
How many, be honest with me, how many of you came in the toilet window just for the shits and giggles?
Okay, well, thank you to everyone for tonight. Thanks to Pat for headlining. And,
There's the rider.
yeah. And
We want that now.
now that you're used to coming out on a Monday, the next time it's slightly different. Some of you probably know Dave Maloney, who died recently from the Vipers, and who was in the Boomtown Rats, and who was just a great character around town. I remember the first time I saw him, I was buying a psychedelic furs single in Murray's on Grafton Street, and he kind of looked like, don't know who you are, but what are you buying? And because he approved of it, he kind of nodded at me, but he nodded at me in a way that made it clear, if you weren't buying a single I liked, I wouldn't nod at you. But he was, he was very supportive of the next generation of bands. The Vipers, don't forget, had a unique place in Irish music history. They were the last band to get a John Peel session until Stars of Heaven. So there was a 6.5 year gap. John Peel decided that he didn't want to do sessions with Irish bands. But out of goodness, in a way, because he felt like it's too far for them to come over on the car ferry. So there was that gap between the Vipers. So his family have asked us to do a special night to commemorate his life and his music and his part in the new wave scene. So that's on the Sunday. That's the very last Sunday of this month. That I believe is the 30th or the 31st. 31st. Thank you to the champagne drinker in the corner.
Thank you. Oh, now you're being
And Niall and myself are the Irish Popular Music Archive right now, which means that we're two people who think that we should preserve Ireland's pop culture. Danielle has joined us and has brought us to another level. But we'd invite everyone here, like us deciding to do a national popular music archive. We've talked to Colin Walsh, who's been incredibly supportive, my sister Catherine, I have to acknowledge, and Deirdre Fitzgerald. So loads of people have volunteered to help us, and at some stage we will have a meeting or we'll have a mailing group. But if anyone would like to participate or tell us about ideas for exhibitions or what we should be gathering, we're totally open. So on the 30th, the Sunday, we'll do something in honour of Dave Maloney. The next night, we're going to Cork to launch the Punks Listen fanzine. We'll have its Cork launch down there, and it's a tenner. It's to generate some revenue for the Irish Red Cross Ukrainian Crisis Appeal, and that's something that needs constant funding. The following day in the afternoon, there's the national launch of my book about popular music, and we're doing a panel for that. Niall's on the panel, so it'll be really good, it'll be interesting, and we'll talk about that DIY. And then because we didn't have enough to do that weekend. So we're going straight from there to Limerick for the launch of the Punks Listen fanzine. So people all around the country have reached out to us and said, we like what you're doing, and they're helping us, and that's why we love DIY. The shop, you can probably see from my superior sales pitch that I'm just a born salesperson. I worked in Dunn's for a week and a half in Cornscourt. And so if you're there sweeping the floor, it's all about sales. How can I make that person buy more stuff? But the shop is open. We've got the fanzines, we've got the books, and we have we've got Cormac's book of photography, which I haven't seen before, and it's fantastic. Now it's €40. Yeah. It's €40, but it's another example of that Dublin DIY thing. Like you don't wait for Penguin to give you a deal. You just think this is of merit, and obviously Peter Jones is involved in most quality DIY things. So hope to see some of you on the Sunday. We'll be back.
Is Billy McGrath going to need that?
That's not even funny. No, it is kind of funny. But it's my show. So thank you again to Pat, who wasn't meant to say anything. And we hope to see a load of you again. And thank you so much for everyone to come in. Goodbye.